Hello everyone, I'm Eric from Sports 365. Here with me once again is my colleague Alex. So, the Heat and Bucks just played Game 5 of the first round series. The Heat went into Game 5 off incredible dramatic victory in Game 4. Jimmy Butler putting up an astonishing 56 points, which is one of the highest point totals in NBA playoff history. Um, And this one was another battle, but the Heat came out on top in overtime, so the Heat have officially pulled off the upset of the Milwaukee Bucks, winning the series 4-1, becoming only the sixth number 8 seed to take down number 1 seed in the first round of the playoffs. So before we dive deeper into this game and this series, what are your thoughts on this series and also this game?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible upset victory for the Heat. I mean, the entire series was. Obviously, Game 5 was as dramatic as it possibly could be. And Jimmy had another great game. He scored an amazing late tying, two-pointer. And we were still in overtime despite the refs blatantly favoring the Bucks. So that was pretty satisfying.
Yeah, the Bucks shot 40 plus free throws in Game 5, and a lot of those were on questionable calls. Say at least some of those were a little bit more than questionable. But yeah, certainly a massive victory, and it's really good to see the Heat not give the Bucks any sort of hope whatsoever, just close it out at the first possible opportunity. Especially in Milwaukee, it's not at all an easy thing to do. And I think one thing I do want to mention before we move on is that Coach Spoelstra really outcoached Budenholzer in this series. I mean, Spoelstra was fantastic. Some of his pitch coaching, to be honest, kept making adjustments offensively and defensively to make sure that the Heat had the best chance of victory, and just adapted to what the Bucks were trying to do. In Game 4 especially, made some late adjustments to stop that Giannis Lopez pick and roll, because that was kind of killing the Heat in the earlier part of Game 4. But yeah, really just did really well. And that inbounds play in the end of regulation in Game 5, going for that lob to Jimmy was definitely a call that took some self-confidence and belief, in himself, and also, of course, in Jimmy Butler. And of course, Jimmy Butler repaid that faith, I think, about 100 times over in the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spoelstra's coaching was absolutely fantastic in the series, so he deserves a lot of credit. Needs victory.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as previously mentioned, Jimmy Butler had an unbelievable series throughout. Games 4 and 5, especially. I mean, Game 4 he scored 56 points as the Heat mounted a late comeback to win Game 4 and go up 3-1. Just made all sorts of winning plays. Just could not be stopped on the offensive end enough. And of course, defensively, he was an absolute menace, as always. And, same thing in Game 5, 42 points against an elite defensive team. And, yeah, again, just more winning plays. It was just absolutely incredible series, and averaged nearly 40 points a game against one of the best defensive teams in the league, being guarded by some of the best defenders in the entire league. So he was just unbelievable in the series.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Jimmy Butler's performance in his first round series against the Bucks?
Well, I mean, there's not much to say that he didn't already say. Obviously, he was incredible. He was incredibly clutch. It's not just that he played well himself, but he lifted the level of the team by being a great leader and an inspiration. And I mean, he's, during the playoffs, he's legitimately one of the best players in the NBA. He's had the best playoff performances so far. So, as long as he can stay healthy, I like our chances of beating the Knicks.
Yeah, I think there's not much to add to what they already said. Yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable, and just went to a completely different level in the playoffs again, as we've seen more times. But in this first round series, of course, there were a lot of other players who stepped up, which we'll get to in a bit. But it's definitely a team effort. But Jimmy was absolutely amazing. So, of course, another thing that we have to mention is Giannis's injury. Obviously, had a major impact in the series. Giannis completely missed games 2 and 3 and missed most of game 1. Of course, he won 2 of those 3 games. Of course, it's unfortunate that you don't want to see those injuries. But at the same time, he had to play the team that was in front of them. That's what they did. But yeah, definitely could have been a different series if Giannis hadn't missed almost 3 games. What are your thoughts on Giannis's injury and how that impacted this first round series?
Yeah, it clearly had a big effect on the series. The Bucks were still able to win game 2, but we won games 1 and 3 with Giannis missing all or at least most of the game. So that was definitely a big factor. I'm not sure if we could have beaten the Bucks without that, but like you said, we just have to play the team in front of us.
Yeah, and it's not like the Heat are without injuries themselves. Harold suffered a very serious injury in game 1. Oladipo suffered a serious injury in game 3. So, it's not like the injuries are on one side. But yeah, obviously Giannis missing those games had a big impact on the series, and like I said, he just had to play the Bucks team that was in front of them. And even with Giannis missing those games, the Bucks are still a great team. So yeah, certainly doesn't diminish the feat that he accomplished, but it was obviously influential as far as how this series turned out. So another big factor in this game was fourth quarter performances. He played really well in fourth quarter of games 4 and 5. Fourth quarters of those games. The Bucks, on the other hand, played poorly in the fourth quarter of games 4 and 5. Had double-digit leads going into both of those games, and still failed to win either one. So that was obviously really big in terms of how the series turned out. So ultimately, their late game execution really was not good enough in that series. So what are your thoughts on the Bucks' fourth quarter struggles in games 4 and 5?
Yeah, they allowed the Heat to complete big comebacks in both games 4 and 5. So that was another big factor in us winning the series. Obviously their shooting went cold in both games 4 and 5. Having said that, to collapse in the fourth quarter back-to-back games like that, you kind of have to look at the coach. Budenholzer could have and should have made some changes to stop those collapses from happening. And of course, when Spo saw that the Bucks were struggling in the fourth quarter of both these games, he did the right, made the right changes and used the right tactics to take advantage of those struggles.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed in both games 4 and 5 is that Heat were pretty much taking advantage of Brook Lopez defensively in terms of putting him in the pick and roll and forcing him to guard smaller, faster players, particularly Jimmy himself. Even though Jimmy was absolutely torching Brook Lopez every time we got in those situations, Budenholzer didn't adjust properly. I honestly think bringing in someone like Bobby Portis, who's smaller but definitely quicker and probably would have been able to, um, you know, deal with that action from the Heat better. Still a good shooter as well, so you're not really losing space, and I think that probably would have been a good idea. But yeah, I mean, they didn't execute on both ends of the floor, and he did. And especially with the Heat having home court in Game 4, and the crowd really giving them a ton of energy. Just think that they needed to execute better in Game 4. They wanted and Game 5. They wanted to win the series, and the Bucks didn't do that. So here we are with the Heat having eliminated them in 5 games. So another thing that certainly tipped the balance in Heat's favor is how many free throws Giannis missed. You just look at his stats. He had 38 points and 20 rebounds. So you look at it and say, wow, Giannis absolutely dominated. But he missed 13 free throws in Game 5. And again, this was a game decided by 2 points. So, yeah, I think that kind of speaks for itself. It's definitely a major factor in the Heat's victory, and he's had many struggles from the free throw line, and that came back to bite the Bucks in Game 5 in a big way. So, what are your thoughts on Giannis really struggling at the free throw line in Game 5, and how that really shifted the game in Heat's favor?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very big factor. Like you said, if you just look at his points and rebounds, looks like he had an amazing game. But to be honest with you, he kind of let his free throw shooting was so poor. He kind of let the Bucks down in Game 5. I mean, shooting less than 50% from the line, missing 13 free throws. This was a game that was tight at the end of regulation and went to overtime. And it was one-sided by like 2 points in overtime. So I mean, that's I have a feeling that Giannis is, if you asked him, you take a lot of the blame himself, and you would be pretty upset with himself for how he shot from the line in this game. So I mean, that's something that it's obviously something that needs to work. He needs to work on. It seems like it's something he's been working on for a while, though, and hasn't really gotten that much better. So I'm not sure what he's going to do.
Yeah, well, obviously it was a significant factor in the game, the must-win game. And yeah, he's had struggles from the free throw line for quite some time. Never really been a great free throw shooter. So that was definitely a significant part of the Heat winning this game for sure. And yeah, I'm sure he takes on a lot of the responsibility for how this series turned out, as most great players would do in this situation. And he certainly is an incredibly great player. But yeah, I'm sure he's very upset with himself, and I'm sure he's going to be working on free throws all summer long in preparation for next season.
Yeah.
So another thing that really helped the Heat win was the fact that the Heat's bench outplayed the Bucks bench. There are a lot of names to mention here. Talk about Kevin Love or Caleb Martin or Duncan Robinson. Even Cody Zeller had some big moments. Kyle Lowry, Gabe Vincent, but the Heat's bench and just some of their other starters really outplayed the Bucks bench, and that was definitely a significant factor in the Heat winning this series, because despite the fact that Jimmy was mind-bogglingly amazing, it takes a whole team effort to pull off a historic upset like this without home court advantage against a great team, which is what the Bucks are. So that was definitely a significant factor in the Heat pulling out the upset. What are your thoughts on the Heat's bench players and just some of their other players outplaying the Bucks bench?
Yeah, that was another big factor. Our bench really did comprehensively outplay the Bucks bench throughout the series, both on both ends of the floor. And again, because I don't think we would have won the series, at least certainly not in 5 games, without the great performances from our bench players.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of, like I said, there are almost too many names to mention as far as the Heat's bench stepping up in this series. But two I did want to mention are Caleb Martin and Haywood Highsmith. Caleb Martin has been great as far as a two-way player throughout this series. I mean, even guarding Giannis on a lot of occasions and doing a pretty good job of it. Of course, Caleb Martin hit that clutch shot right in Giannis' face in Game 4, which certainly took quite a bit of confidence. And Haywood Highsmith was fantastic defensively for the Heat, so he definitely contributed to the Heat winning this series, even if I think Haywood Highsmith probably won't get much recognition for his role in the series victory, but he definitely deserved it, so I wanted to give him a special mention. So, now the Heat face the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals. The Knicks just beat the Cavs in 5 games. So, Game 1 of that series will be in New York, of course, on Sunday. Definitely be an interesting series. Knicks certainly won't make it easy for the Heat, but given what the Heat just did to the #1 seed Bucks, I feel confident that the Heat are going to win again and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep, me too.